As religious violence rocks Bangladesh, the ruling party rallies behind the religious minority. We look at what set off the deadly clashes and what the implications could be. I'm Marijan Ayanar, and today's Newsmakers is the unrest in Bangladesh. It's been some of the worst religious violence in Bangladesh for more than a decade. At least 6 are dead, including 2 Hindus, more than 100 injured, and dozens of homes decimated as violence erupted across the country. It all started last week after images of the Quran allegedly being desecrated emerged on social media. The photo appeared to show the Muslim holy book placed on the knee of a Hindu deity during the Durga Puja festival. Demonstrations followed. Police clashed with protesters, and furious rioters targeted Hindu temples. The UN's resident coordinator in Bangladesh, Mia Seppo, took to Twitter, urging the government to protect the country's religious minorities.
Recent attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh, fueled by hate speech on social media, are against the values of the constitution and need to stop. We call upon the government to ensure protection of minorities and an impartial probe. We call upon all to join hands to strengthen an inclusive, tolerant Bangladesh.
The ruling Awami League then held a rally in the capital calling for an end to the violence, and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina vowed to hunt down those responsible. In a moment, we'll discuss how she plans to do that, but first, let's take a closer look at the country itself. Now, Bangladesh only gained independence in 1971. On March 25th of that year, the Pakistani army launched Operation Searchlight in Dhaka in an attempt to curb the Bengali nationalist movement in the east. The following day, Mujibur Rahman, the Awami League leader, was arrested. The party responded by declaring Bangladesh independent on Rahman's behalf. A 9-month-long conflict ensued, with hundreds of thousands losing their lives, and the eventual surrender of the Pakistani army on December 16, 1971, a day Bangladesh declared Victory Day. It wasn't long before Bangladesh had a constitution and secularism was adopted as a fundamental principle. But in 1988, military ruler Hussein Mohammed Arshad declared the Muslim-majority country's state religion to be Islam. Over the years, there have been calls for that to change, but would be the right move? And is a constitutional amendment likely? To discuss all this, I'm now joined from London by Ajmal Masroor. He is a British Bangladeshi Imam and Broadcaster. Also in the British capital is Monirul Islam, the acting secretary of the Awami League Lawyers Association in the UK. And from Dhaka is human rights activist Khushi Kabir. Welcome to all of you. It's a pleasure having you on today's Newsmaker. Ajmal, let me start with you. Does removing Islam as the country's national religion from the Constitution defy democracy? Does it defy freedom?
It does, because the 90% of Bangladeshis who are Muslims have not been consulted on this issue. There's been no referendum ever done to ask the Bangladeshi people as to what they want. Such a fundamental move with the country and its culture and its people who are intertwined in their lives and in everything that they do, the faith, and this is the identity of Bangladeshi people. Of course, Bangladesh has got people of other backgrounds, Hindu, Christian, Buddhist, and people of minority faiths and no faiths. Everyone is and must be given their due right and privileges within the country's constitution. But why would you want to remove the faith of majority from the constitution? What would Bangladesh gain? If anything, it would only indicate that the current government's desire to create a one-state party dictatorship of its own kind, the like of which we see in North Korea and China. And of course, that is not an example of democracy, where people have been marginalized and things are getting out of hand, and we can see the manifestation of it in the streets, in the cities and villages of Bangladesh.
Monirul, how do you respond to that?
Thank you very much for inviting me. Actually, what it is, this is not the form of government. This is the matter of culture and educational system. If you see that in America, not America, in India, their constitution is secular constitution. That means there is nothing in the constitution about religion. They said India is constitutionally secular country. What is this? We know what is going on in India. If you see that United Kingdom, They are not the constitutionally secular country, but we know the education, culture, and setup of the United Kingdom very much secular. So, what written in the constitution, that is not the primary matter to be considered, in my belief. Though, as a secularist, I believe constitution should replace the secularism, but that is not something we can stop this type of violence and atrocities. To stop it, we need something more than that. What we need culturally, you know that Bangladesh is more than 90% student, 95% student now going to the school, and the government, current government is secular government, what we know traditionally. So we have the opportunity to change the education system. What the problem in Bangladesh over the years, we are experiencing this type of atrocities. This is not related to the constitution. This is fully related to the culture, society, and our legal system. If you want to change this, if you want to stop it, you have to start one way education system. That means Hindu, Buddha, Christian, and other religious people, everybody should be in a same education system. And up until the year 10, everyone should be treated equally, and every student will get the education in accordance with the framework of
Okay,
8.
I want
But
to
we
get
do.
it. I want to get Khushi into the conversation. Khushi, let me ask you. I mean, do you think that making Islam the state's religion was a mistake in the first place?
Oh, definitely. 1971, this is 50 years since we had fought our liberation war. One of the major issues and principles was secularism. We fought against an Islamic state. 1947, India was divided on the basis of religion, and an Islamic state of Pakistan was created. 71, we had a liberation war where everybody took part, and secularism was enshrined in the first constitution we had after our independence. It's only in secularism was removed from the constitution in 78 by General Zia. And in 1988, General Ershad, as you mentioned, he brought in Islam as a state religion. I don't think a state should have a religion. Majority of the people will practice what they believe in. You don't need to talk about a state having a religion. And I don't think whether keeping the Islam as a state religion, or and we have secularism in our constitution as one of the principles. It's a contradiction, actually, to have secularism and then a state religion. I don't think that's the issue or the problem. The problem is there are a group of people who have decided that they want to show their strength and their power by doing the kind of activities they did. They did that in the 90s. They did that in the 2013 onwards till 16, after the incident at the Holy Artisan Bakery, and the government's clamped down on that area. It's on the whole Islamist zealots. It stopped, and now they're showing there have been incidents here and there which we've all protested, but now they've shown that they are all over the country and they can act. So I think this is just for them a show of strength. I don't think it has anything to do with whether we remove Islam as a state religion, which I would absolutely, welcome. But I don't think that's the main
Okay,
issue.
fair enough. Ajmal,
and I don't think remove that. Yeah.
Ajmal, let me bring you
that would
back
make
into this
anything.
conversation. I mean, don't you think the government should be responsible to sort of bring to justice those who have been instigating these acts, whether they are vandalism or extreme acts of violence, as we've seen?
Yes, of course, we should. And our government, or Bangladesh government for sure, should have constitutional framework by which it operates. Currently, you have a despotic government, an illegitimate government in Bangladesh, ruled by, or they've come to power by rigging votes, by stealing votes, by holding a farcical election, by hijacking democracy. So the problem is the current government is illegitimate. Its members of the Awami League, especially, they're known as thugs in Bangladesh. They kidnap, they murder, they have extortion, and they disappear people by force. They operate in Bangladesh beyond law. In fact, they've corrupted the legal system by removing independence of the judiciary and instilling in highest positions of judiciary members of Awami League, especially those thugs who are perpetrating some of the heinous crimes in Bangladesh. What we are saying is Bangladesh needs an overhaul. Bangladesh does not need thuggish government. It does not need lunatics to run the country. Do you know, and your viewers won't be surprised to hear this, Bangladeshi government, the Prime Minister herself, whose picture we can see on the forescreen today, her son owns multiple properties in Europe and America. For a Prime Minister of the poorest nation on earth, for her son who does not have a real job, how do they afford millions of pounds, and how do the ministers of that government afford to buy places in Singapore, in Malaysia, in London and New York? Because they are endemic in corruption. So if we want to bring to justice people who are destroying Bangladesh, it should begin by removing the current government, instilling a democratic government that is not corrupt, and of course, ending the religious violence and communal violence that we see currently dominating. Believe you me, this is not Islamic at all. What these people are doing in the name of Islam, there is nothing like that in Islam that I practice. Islam that I practice teaches pluralism, teaches acceptance of people of different faith and no faith. The problem in Bangladesh is both the Awami League government and its foot soldiers are so confused about their religion. They're only interested in making lots of money and keeping power and retaining power by any means possible. And in the meantime, the masses are suffering, oppositions have been silenced, judiciary has been collapsed, and security services have been compromised. So who are you going to bring to justice?
No? Okay. Monirul, answer that, because clearly you two stand on very opposite ends of the spectrum. You are trying to show that the Awami League is one that is an example, a good example of Bangladesh is a good example of multi-religious coexistence, multiculturalism. But Ajmal is saying, you know, the Awami League is full of thugs, they're corrupt, they're lunatics.
Thank you very much. I strongly disagree with Ajmal Masroor. What he is trying to say that this is totally political statement of opposition party of Bangladesh. I know Ajmal Masroor is no connection with Bangladeshi politics, but I believe he does have strong connection with opposition. What he is saying, that is totally irresponsible comment in my view, because Bangladesh is constitutionally, fundamentally democratic country, and over the years, Bangladesh Awami League is not an army government. Bangladesh Awami League was elected by the people of Bangladesh. So he cannot say this.
They were not elected.
No,
you stole an election.
I let you to speak. Let me to speak. Whenever you get time, you can depend yourself. What I'm trying to say that if you look back to the Bangladesh 10 years back, 20 years back, what Bangladesh was, what Bangladesh is now. Bangladesh was in a bottomless basket once upon a time. Now Bangladesh is 29th richest country in the world. Our purchasing power is very high. Our the poverty level is very low. Every student is going to school. The Sheikh Hasina's government facilitate the people. The people of Bangladesh is happier than any time before. Who Mr. Ajmal Masroor is talking about Bangladesh. The problem in Bangladesh, I accept one aspect, that is we failed fundamentally to respond the communal issue to our education system. We have 4 parallel education system. One is madrasa education, one is Qaumi education, one is Bengali government control education, another one is English system education. So these 4 type of education going parallelly in Bangladesh, which is absolutely unacceptable in any civilized government in the world. What we are trying to say that to respond this is not the matter of politics. This is a matter of culture and education. We fail to educate our people to respond, how it should react. Because Bangladesh, if you see that Bangladesh Awami League is always left bloc since 1971. If you see our war, if you see the our struggle, if you Mr. Ajmal Masroor says about something about the Sheikh Hasina's son. Do you know who is he? He is graduated from the University of Harvard. He was named as
a job and stolen lots of money from Bangladesh. Thank you very much.
Let's, he never. Without
gentlemen,
television, you cannot
gentlemen,
comment.
let's
You know
try to
that
make this a decent conversation. Sorry, let's bring you in because you know this can go on forever. Khushi, let me ask you. I mean, we have seen on multiple times in the past that there have been attempts to actually remove this article from the Constitution. The Awami League holds an absolute majority in Parliament. I mean, do you see any doubt that if it comes on the table, that it will have any difficulty in passing?
Let me just tell you, in response to what the earlier speaker said, I think when the first speaker, who Mr. Ajmal Masroor, I think his name is, was talking about the present government, and I'm not saying the present government is totally democratic in its in the way it behaves, but I see it no different from all the governments we had previous to that, whether it's the BNP government, whether it's the Jatiya Party government. And the question of vote rigging has been rampant. I think it's time that we, the citizens, really speak up and start talking about what we want to do. Now, I just want to say that as soon as Ershad had declared, Islam as a state religion, there were two writ petitions in the court, one of which has been rejected because the petitioners are all dead now, and the other one is in cold storage. So there have been attempts, and we have been asking for it. We've also been asking what exactly the speaker before me said from the Awami League, that we want a single education system. But unfortunately, the government in power at present, because it's got a reputation in Bangladesh for being aligned more to the secular, because they were in power, when in charge when we had a liberation war, and secularism was a big force. So in order to show that they are very Islamic, they are trying to pander to the Islamist forces, and I think that has led to that. This pandering to them is much more, and so what we need to do is actually have proper democracy within the party, within the government, and where people themselves can speak out. Now we have people who do speak out who are arrested. We still speak out, and it depends on how what kind of leverage and maneuvering possibilities you have. But I will say that there are many areas where the present government has done very well indeed. But there are many areas where it has still got to do much more. I think I could say that with every single government in the world now, that it's moving more and more towards religion. Our thing is always to separate religion from the state, separate religion from politics.
Okay.
That is
Ajmal,
something we've always insisted. And it's happening in every country in the world. Please, religion is being used
true.
and misused.
All right. If it's being used all in every country around the world, Ajmal, let me ask you. I mean, if this amendment comes to the table and if it is passed, do you feel or do you fear that it is likely to cause more violence like we've seen in the recent past?
I'm only calling for a true democratic government. I'm not interested in which party rules. I'm opposed to corruption. I'm opposed to nepotism. I'm opposed to these kind of autocratic rule that we see in Bangladesh. For example, the opposition party has been systematically wiped out from the parliament. Any opposition party leaders would be locked up. Fictitious charges would be put against them. The members of their families would be kidnapped and disappeared. Nobody would know where they are. This kind of awful banana republic style rule of Bangladesh government is something that I oppose. Whether this is done by BNP, the former government, or current government, Awami League, or anyone else for that matter, I don't care who the government is. All I want to see is a free, fair, democratic government. That's number one. Number two, I want to see a pluralist Bangladesh, a Bangladesh that embraces the diversity of its country, people, backgrounds, culture, religion, faith, no faith of people. There should be a pluralist government, a government that celebrates and rejoices in all people's goodness, and all celebrations are part and parcel of the fabric of the country and people. I see none of that in Bangladesh at the moment. What I see in Bangladesh is a bunch of privileged people are getting more. My previous speaker, Ms. Kabir, made a good mention about how if you speak up against the government, you get disappeared. Herself was charged, or at least the court threw out the charges against her. Of course, attempted. So many people like that. I've got friends. And would you believe, Ms. Kabir, you can ask our Milik friend, can I go to Bangladesh tomorrow freely? I can tell you, I can't. I will disappear from the airport. and nobody will know where I belong to. Do you know how I know this? From the highest level of Awami League, I've been sent this message directly. Don't bother coming to Bangladesh. If you do, we'll make sure we'll take care of you. Why? Because I've criticized a government that has violated human rights, does not guarantee press freedom, does not guarantee rule of law, and it is nepotistic in every way and corrupt. Now, with religion, it's a difficult discussion as far as Bangladeshis are concerned. It's not as simple as there are 4 tiers of education. It's not like that. What Bangladesh needs is a referendum. Do a referendum and ask the people of Bangladesh, would you like religion, the name Islam, to be removed from the constitution? If Bangladeshi people say yes, I would be with them all the way. But what I'm saying is Awami League railroading its own agenda on politics, on religion, on society, on everything.
Khushi, I mean,
and that's not democratic.
As a human rights activist, I mean, shouldn't the people have been asked about this?
Yes, it should be.
Then we should then go back to Mr. Irshad and before that to General Zia, who actually inserted this without asking us. In fact, they were elected without us coming. And Awami League doesn't have the backbone to be able to throw this out, which they should have. They had the opportunity when the 8th Amendment to the Constitution was declared illegal by the court, and the government was asked to reinstate the old Constitution. They brought back secularism, which had been thrown out, but they did not have the courage at all to say that Islam will not be the state religion. It's not Awami League who brought in the state religion.
Ms.
Please,
Kabir,
can
I ask you a question, Ms. Kabir?
Yeah.
Our previous governments have done wrong. Awami League's,
Yes.
BNP and Shad and all, they have done that, which is wrong. I get that.
Yeah.
And Awami League government doing wrong. 2 wrongs won't make it right. As far as democracy is concerned,
I'm not saying that.
with such a fundamental change,
I'm not.
All I'm asking for is a referendum. That's it. Simple.
No, I'm just, when the question was asked to me that,
okay,
why did Awami League bring that in? And I said, Awami League didn't bring it in. He didn't have the courage to take it out. That's all. And I still think they don't have the courage to take it out. They don't even have the courage to take it out. So this discussion is actually
Ajmal, let me ask you.
Ajmal, null and void.
Let me ask you. I mean, proponents of this amendment, this secularism amendment, to sort of be re-implemented, would argue that this is a multifaceted sort of movement. It will bring in sort of huge advancements back into whether it's gender rights or education rights, and that's a point that Monirul was also making as well.
But secularism is in our constitution. Sorry, secularism is in our constitution. It's one of the 4 principles that was brought in because of the High Court ruling.
And precisely, that's my point. If secularism is part and parcel of our constitution right now, how is it that current government, led by Ms. Hasina, has the worst record when it comes to women's human rights? When it comes to human rights violation, she has scored the highest in human rights violation. I'm saying you don't need secularism or you don't need name of Islam or any other in the constitution or outside the constitution. You need a democratic government with a mandate. Hasina's government doesn't have democratic mandate. They stole the last election. They came to power in the previous election by rigging the votes. If there was free and fair election in Bangladesh, without thugs with their guns and their machetes wielding in the villages, I tell you, Awami League will never be elected in Bangladesh with a free and fair election. Never.
Monirul, I want to bring you into the conversation. Your response to that, yes.
I would like to respond. Mr. Ajmal is talking, what I don't want to use that word, but one thing I can tell you, in Bangladesh, 1971, we have, the passed through a lot of phases. If you see the 1991, that was the the caretaker government election. Then 1996, then 2001 and 2008, 4 election. I guarantee Mr. Ajmal Masroor, just count the vote of Bangladeshi people, which was internationally recognized that free and fair. Awami League casted more vote than any other party. That means it suggests in Bangladesh, Awami League is most popular party in the country by the recognition of the people. I am not going to that way. What Ajmal Masroor is saying, that is hypothetical disease. That is hypothetical space. But what is the problem we are talking about the constitutional reformation? If you see what is in the constitution, I am reading it. The state religion of republic is Islam, but the state shall ensure equal status and equal right in practice of Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, and other religions.
Monirul, okay. I'm afraid we're running out of time. Khushi, I want to give you the last word. So how does Bangladesh sort of balance this delicate line between secularism and Islam then?
Well, I just think, as I said right at the beginning, there's it's a contradiction when you have secularism in your constitution and you have Islam as a state religion in your constitution. I mean, how can a state have a religion? But I think what we need to do is really have the people and the party and the bureaucracy and the judiciary and all the state organs actually work fairly and work properly. I think as people or citizens of this country, I'll say I speak out. I always speak out. And nothing stops me from speaking out, and I'm never going to leave this country.
Okay.
So the question is, how do we do that? I think
because of you talking
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave this debate here.
Let me finish. No, we'll have to I'll just finish.
Khushi, I'm afraid we've run out of time. Sorry, I do apologize.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Yeah,
Ajmal Masroor, Monirul Islam, and Khushi Kabir, thank you very much for joining us here on today's Newsmaker. We're going to be continuing this debate online. Do follow us on Twitter at @_newsmakers, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Ali Janayanash, and see you next time.